I'm a loyal patron of my local Majestic, and this is from Chile, a country which you championed from the beginning. Montes Winery, which has been around since 1987, and they're kind of considered the first real premium
And my
wineries.
first trip to Chile, I went to see them.
No way.
Yeah, in 1989. I went to Chile to cover the end of Pinochet's regime and the beginning of democracy. I went to Chile for the first time to cover their first democratic elections in 1989.
No way.
And purely by chance, there was some wine to visit. So I thought, that sounds a lot nicer than hanging around in Santiago waiting for vote results.
Well, also, this just shows wine is like one thread, but there's all threads kind of lead to similar things. Montes, they really believe in the power of the senses and music being essential to kind of wine appreciation. And they actually did research with Edinburgh University saying how different music and different composers can affect how one tastes. So really, we're enjoying the Merlot, the single vineyard Merlot, which has been exclusively made for Majestic, and it's been 12 months in oak, so hopefully it'll be lovely and succulent. But I was looking at suggested playlists, and I didn't think we could play music on the podcast. But what I should have done with pouring this wine, apparently the music recommendation for this Merlot is Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Easy by Lionel Richie, Over the Rainbow by Eva Cassidy, or Heartbeats by Jose Gonzalez. And if I'd cracked open the single vineyard Chardonnay, I should have played Blondie or Kylie Minogue.
That is so not what Aurelia Montes told me.
Oh, really?
Aurelia Montes told me that it was Gregorian chant.
Well, apparently that's what they play during the winemaking process.
Yeah, that's right.
And
It's this endless
yes.
No,
But yeah,
nobis Dominus, no.
This was this one article I read.
That's right.
Beautiful, yes.
Adrian Watchful, yeah.
Professor Adrian North, who led the research, explained that when a powerful piece of music such as O Fortuna from Karl Off's Carmina Burana is played, go for it.
Yeah.
A wine like Montes Alpha Cabernet Sauvignon is perceived as being 60% richer and
That's
more
because
robust.
Carmina Burana is bang, 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 bang. That's happening in Carmina Burana. You went like this when I started that. You can imagine what the poor old wine's doing, saying, "Oh, quick, give me a glass of wine." The bloke's going bonkers next to me. But if I mean, that's Adrian North, well done, old chap. But that is a very extreme example.
Well,
Carmina Burana is a really extreme bit of music.
Well, apparently, if you had the Chardonnay, it tastes 40% fresher with pop music.
Than Gregorian chant. Well, if it's old and musty and half dead with Gregorian chant, and
But they do have
bright and
Gregorian
breezy with
chants.
Kylie Minogue. I mean, that's not difficult. You think that's not
chants.
that's
They're
not
for
rocket
part
science.
of the like kind of winemaking process, and isn't it like a feng shui inspired
Yeah.
barrel room? I haven't been. But,
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
got water all over the place, and
But I thought it's interesting that connection between wine and music.
Yeah.
Music has always been a constant in your life. You've always been singing
Mm.
in choirs, and that kind of what brought you to church at a young
I
age.
do about 10 concerts a year at the moment. 'Cause
With
we-
harmonica, yeah.
Ours and Harmonica drink to music. We do these shows where we make the audience drink while we sing all kinds of Baroque music to them, and we pretend it's an experiment to see whether they're enjoying the music more
But
or
do you
less
think
and the
it can
wine music
affect?
more.
Like, what do you
I
think
it
of-
does, yeah.
yeah.
Hey, good music you like puts you in a better mood. The wine's going to taste better. Wine that you like puts you in a better mood. Drink a glass of wine and music you weren't sure you liked. You think, I quite like it after all. Yeah, look, these guys, unbelievably, these guys are funded by us, the taxpayers. Oxford University's got this wonderful section of its psychology department. The guys are doing PhD research on this. I think, how on earth did you get that gig? I want that gig. To be funded by the taxpayer, to spend years working out whether this glass of wine tastes better with that bit of music. Honestly, I'm, I obviously don't have, I don't have the learning. That's the trouble. I don't have the learning. But I mean, I'm sure that, yes, of course, there is science in it. There's also common sense in it. You feel happy. Wine makes you feel happy. Music you like makes you feel happy. You put a bit of, I don't know, a bit of Schoenberg. Well, and you think, oh God, that's really edgy. A bit of Bartok, you think, oh, that's really edgy. A bit of Johnny Rotten, you think, oh, that's really edgy. Well, if you have a glass of Merlot that you like, A, is the Merlot going to taste less good? It might, because one of the things about wine tasting is you've got to be in a good mood. This is one of
Yeah.
the fundamentals about wine
So
tasting.
true.
Amelia, you and I have it at tastings. People go, "Hey, excuse me, do you mind if I have a chat?" And you say, "I'm really very busy. I've got 60 wines to do." "No, do you mind if I chat?" "No, honestly, now what do you think? What's your favourite?" And you think, "Please go away, please go away." And you eventually start saying, "Look, I can't. I'm getting really irritated here. You can't taste wine if you're irritated, if you're upset. There's something fundamental, and it's a physiological thing. You know that old English saying that something leaves a bad taste in your mouth. That's when you're tense, when you're nervous, when you're stressed. There's an ancient protection mechanism which makes our saliva go bitter.
No way.
Yeah, and so that's why you're going into an interview. You know how your mouth dries
Yeah.
out. And if you then put something on that dry mouth, like wine, it'll taste really bitter. So if you're in a bad mood, you can't taste red wine particularly. You can't taste it.
What do you think of this red wine?
I don't know. I'm just looking at it at the moment, longingly.
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
5
yeah.
seconds.
If we do 5 seconds, honestly, they'll call security.
Well,
This is
hopefully.
Montez.
Montez single vineyard Merlot made exclusively for Majestic. £12.99.
It smells lovely. And it smells slightly spicy, but basically it smells soft.
Yeah.
And that's what you want Merlot
Juicy
to
and
smell.
plump.
And Chilean Merlot, from year dot, has been better than other people's Merlots. Partly because it had another grape mixed in, which is a better grape.
Oh,
And partly they found good place. This is from a village called Marchichue. And this is where Montez went, 20 or 30 miles closer to the sea, where they said, no one can go. There's no water. No one's ever been there before. And good old Aurelio Montez said, that's not a good enough reason for me not to go there. I think I can grow better grapes there than in the heart of Colchagua, where it's bloody hot.
It is,
Santa
that's
Cruz, it boils in Santa Cruz. But in Marchichue, the winds come in from the sea, keeps it a bit cooler, just as much sunshine, but the temperature goes like that, which means you just get that much more freshness. So I'm hoping, and you're looking happy, and I haven't even sung to you yet. So I don't know any Kylie Minogue tunes, so I can't sing you Kylie Minogue. I'll have to sing you Stephen Sondheim.
Well, apparently, sitting on the dock of the bay can work too, but yeah.
Now, it's as serious as you want it to be.
Yeah.
If you want a bit of that bitiness in it, that slightly chewy apple skin thing in it, it's there. And a lot of people do want a bit of that in their red wine. But then if you think, well, what's the basic expression in the red wine? It's more like sort of sweet plums or sort of red cherries, that sort of world. And the acidity, we mentioned red currants. It's things like red currants, cranberries, all mixed in together and ends up a little bit chocolatey.
Yeah, and I got also like a little bit of like fresh spearmint, kind of like there's like a kind of fresh mint.
That'll be the
Going
cooler
on.
area, the cooler
Yeah.
area down towards the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
The Pacific Ocean is bloody cold. I went swimming there a few weeks ago. I was in the Atacama Desert. I just thought,
Jealous.
it's about, it hasn't rained there for 50 years. So you're down by the beach and you think, oh, that looks lovely. And you think, well, no one else is swimming. Always a sign when you go to a beautiful beach, no one is swimming. There's a reason. So I just thought, I'm an Englishman. I can't come to a lovely beach and not rip all my kit off and go and have a dip. So I dashed in there, and about 40 seconds later, I couldn't feel my toes and my fingers. And about 60 seconds afterwards, I thought, if you don't get out pretty sharpish, you will probably lose all your loose bits. All your extremities will be gone for good. I can't have been in there more than about a minute and a half. And it was icy cold. But of course, the thing is, that's the icy cold
Yeah.
current coming up from the Antarctic, which creates the winds which blow through this vineyard here. Even if they have 320 days sunshine of the year, the wind is keeping the temperature down. You keep the temperature down, you can ripen those grapes with the sunshine. You don't need heat. But the temperature being cold keeps it fresh. And this is ripe, but fresh.
It's ripe but fresh. And there's like a little bit of vanilla spice from the oak or whatever, which is lovely. And no, I think, again, going back to your happy juice description, I think it's a happy juice.
It's sort of serious happy juice.
It's
isn't it?
serious happy juice.
If you're a wine buff, you can think that's a nice glass of wine. If you're not a wine buff, you think that's a nice glass of wine. So I think this is what Chile does really well.
Yeah.
It can balance people who just want a nice glass of wine and people who want a bit more intellectual stimulation. Chile can easily do both. And I think it's in the last 5 to 10 years, Chile has absolutely transformed itself from being a place dominated by big companies making nice wine, but not exciting wine.
Yeah.
It's now full of exciting wine. And by the way, reds are not the only game in town. The whites from down towards the Pacific Ocean. Again, it's really cold down there. The wind just piles up from up those river valleys. It comes up like a sort of Ferrari in second gear. It really comes up and it really hits you. And even in the Atacama Desert, they grow vines in the Atacama Desert because the winds come up so strongly from the sea that even if it hasn't rained for 50 years, it still never gets above about 28 degrees centigrade. And further inland it'll be 45 degrees centigrade. But just on the river valley, it'll be about 28. 28's fine. Nice. 45 is hopeless. I've been further up in the Atacama Desert. You can't breathe. No. You can't sleep at night because you're like that. You're hot. Every piece of moisture in your nasal cavity has been dried out by the desert heat.
And I've been a few times. I love like horse riding around like the Atacama. Like that's a beautiful way to see the scenery. But yeah, if you go too
far north, I don't know how the horse survives. Let alone me. Maybe the horse doesn't. Maybe you're one of those fierce horse riders who say, "Come on, come on." The horse stumbles and collapses under you and says, "Get up, move on, get up." Sort of John Wayne kind of approach to horse riding. You know?
No, definitely
not John Wayne approach. So I'm glad to hear it.